Welcome to another season of Bar Beshies.
And this time with a partner for every lifelong learner,
Rex Education.
Welcome to Bar Beshies. This is Lay.
ako si JP.
Ito naman si Noel.
Oh, ibig pa rin yan dyan natin.
Sorry. Si Noel, hello.
Oh, ayan.
Sobrang ganda ng feedback from our
Yes,
Beshies.
that is true.
So kung gusto nyo, guys, Beshies, kung gusto nyo na to interact with us more, of course, you can always contact us at our social media pages. Aming Instagram, Bar Beshies. Sa IG, sa Facebook, Bar Space Beshies. Email, kung meron kayong gustong idulong, accept legal advice, barbeshies@gmail.com.
Idulong talaga, sumbong no? Sumbong yung prof ko po. 2 hours po nakatayo, ganun.
Saka, of course, no, like, follow, and share yung aming Spotify. And rate nyo naman kami ng 5 stars so that we can, ma-encourage kami to give you more great content, better episodes in the near future.
And of course, Beshies, this entire thing would not be possible if not for Rex Education, our lifelong learning partner. Kaya, Noel, paano nila pupunta na Rex?
Ulit tayo. Hey guys, FX lang yun. Anyway, unang-una maraming salamat sa Rex muli, our lifelong learning partner. Tapos pwede nyo silang sundan sa kanilang YouTube, which is Rex Education. Tapos, pwede nyo silang puntahan sa Shopee, Lazada, dahil meron po silang mga, meron po silang mga channels, links doon sila pwedeng bilhan ng kanilang mga produkto. At puntahan nyo rin po ang kanilang website na makikita nyo dito, somewhere there. Okay, again, thank you Rex for giving us this opportunity and privilege, and Beshies, puntahan natin yung Rex para sa mga produkto at sa mga content na katulad nito.
Parang gusto ko lang i-share. Alam kong madaling bumili sa Shopee, Lazada, pero bisita din kayo sa stores. Kasi fun din pumunta sa stores, magtingin-tingin ng mga libro doon kasi you never know that there would be something interesting that you would find.
Saka pag naging kaibigan mo kasi yung mga Rex partners natin, kailangan mo ng immediate copies ng Kodals, ng mga books. Sobrang laking bagay. Sabi nga sa inyo, kahit sa Facebook lang, si Miss Babes.
Tsaka walang kapalit yung amoy ng libro. Yung amoy ng bookstore, hindi mo madararamdaman yun sa online.
Gusto ko lang din i-share na nag-start na naman ng bagong school year. Nag-start na naman ng bagong school year. So, ito na naman ako. Linggo-linggo na naman ako nagtuturo. Kayo guys, kamusta naman kayo?
Nagturo ako last sem. Yung second sem, no? So, it was my first year teaching in law school. That was, shinare ko na ata to, that was a really ibang environment siya than teaching college, teaching professionals. So, naging mas exciting siya. Kasi una, iisipin mo, may parang nag-uudyok sa akin, babawian ko ba tong mga students na to?
Grabe naman yun. May revenge plot. Bakit masaya ba?
Sa tropang nakuha ko nung sa law school ako. Pero siyempre, nanaig yung hindi.
Oo.
You want to teach them. To teach them well.
I've always been very vocal about this. Education really is a passion.
Oo naman.
And when you say education, it's not just about teaching. It's an entire industry of educators, administrators, students, of course, diba?
And of course, lalo na kung meron kang lifelong learning partner, Rex.
Resources for your educational purposes. Diba? At saka, alam mo, na-realize ko rin, isa sa mga bagay na natutunan ko habang ginagawa tong entire season na to with Rex. Apparently, there is a field of law which covers education. Alam mo ba yun?
Well, dati, hindi.
Diba? Ngayon,
malalaman natin sabay-sabay.
Oo, and now, because gusto namin i-share sa inyo itong bago naming learning, because learning never ends talaga eh. We would like to invite our guest for today. Okay? He is the foremost legal luminary in the field of education law. And without further ado, we would like to call Attorney Joseph Noel Estrada.
Yay.
Hi.
Sir.
Welcome to Barbesh.
Salamat.
Sir, I think yung una kong tanong, napagkakamalan po ba kayong sa ERAP?
Kamukha ko ba siya?
Dito ba? Napagkakamalan ba kayo, sir? Kasi diba Joseph Noel Estrada?
pag hindi pa ako nakikita at nakita yung pangalan ko, usually nga tinatanong kung ang guest nila si Mayor Erap, former president, kasi nga kapangalan.
Pero sir, how do you want us to call you?
Attorney Erap.
Ay, pinanindigan nyo na siya, no? May nag-impersonate po ba kayo minsan?
Minsan.
Pasample na mo?
Baka ma-discover ako.
Oo, guys. Hindi. Pero sir, alam mo, ang dami kong natutunan about, reading about your books and all that. So you are, I think, the first author that talked about education law. Sir, ano yun? Kasi wala akong matandaan masyado about it in law school.
Saka hindi mo siya, it's not a subject, diba?
Yeah, it's
not a
not.
subject in law school.
Totoo. Actually, law is really very dynamic. So, yung mga fields of practices or areas of practices, it's actually determined by actual practice, not only by what is asked in the bar. So, nung nagsisimula ako, pinanindigan ko na merong education law practice. Nung tinatanong ako ng mga kabatch ko noon, yung mga 2 or 3 years ako in practice, natanong nila kung nasan ako, anong practice ko. Sabi ko, education law. So, sabi nila, nagtuturo ka. No, so yun ang agad impression. Pero actually it's an emerging branch in modern law. No, education law that deals with everything about education. Alam mo yung Constitution, for example, there's an entire article on education.
Right.
Yes,
So daming areas that actually need legal expertise.
But sir, how did you get into that field in the first
Were you an educator prior to entering law school?
No. Actually, talagang siguro, by faith. I can also say that by accident siguro. Kasi ang gusto ko talaga noon ay magtayo ng aking law office to practice my own. I did not get employed in any law firm. Yun ang gusto ko. Kaya lang, syempre wala pa akong resources. I needed to have a day job. No? So, nagtrabaho ako sa isang college. Isang private college. Ang aming arrangement doon, pwede ako mag-practice on the side, but I have to take care of the school. And one of my duties there was to attend congressional hearings. No? Sabi nila, attend ka lang doon, you take notes and report to the board. No? Pero ang ginawa ko doon, talagang pumunta ako, nag-participate talaga ako sa mga...
Bibukid pa lang ngayon.
Sabi ko, akala ko kasi yun ang gawin. Siyempre, very ideal pa ako. First year, second year in practice, talagang pag umattend ako sa congressional hearings, talagang naaral ko mabuti. So, I ended up being a resource person. So, nagpalit na ng mga set of congressmen, senators. Ako pa rin tinatanong. So, nasusundan ko lahat ng nangyayari.
Sir, ito, honest question. Ano ba kasi talagang ginagawa sa congressional hearings?
Congressional hearings, syempre, pag merong bill na pinropose ang isang kongresista or senador, tinatakil yun. No? So they invite resource persons, mga experts, on how to put together the best bill possible to be enacted as a law. No? So kung education yan, syempre lahat ng mga experts. No? So ako naman, fortunately, I created that space for myself na basta merong anything about legal matter or policy issue in implementing a law, ako yung tinatanong about.
Okay. Sorry sir. Kasi so you took part doon sa kung di alam ng karamihan, meron po kasi tayong Aral Act ngayon, 'di ba? So kasi nung nakaraan nagkaroon kasi ng meeting sa legislative liaison office ng presidente, nandoon yung mga pending bills, and part of that kasi yung Aral Act. So nag-take part po kayo doon, sir?
Yeah. Actually, yung Aral is a reaction to the pandemic. Yung mga learning losses. Kaya pag binasa mo siya, very specific sa pandemic, trying to catch up. Kasi di ba noon, sinorten yung school year, tapos maraming hindi nakapagtuloy sa pagpasok. So it's really just catching up. So parang Aral is just parang remedial classes, just trying to institutionalize or legislate pag-tutor, just trying to catch up more on the public school system
These laws and bills, all-encompassing to from preschool up to your college and your postgraduate.
Tama. I'll give you an example. Halimbawa, yung K-12 law. No? So actually, yun ang I took part in that. Nung 2013 siya na isabatas no? So mga 2012, 2010, 2011, pinag-uusapan yun Di ba yung K-12, ito yung nagdagdag ng 2 taon sa high school. So imaginein mo yung time na yun, na 4 years lang ang high school, biglang may bill na will add 2 more years. So ang daming effect nun sa learners, sa magulang. Tapos faculty. So ang binring up ko noon na issue paano yung mga nagtuturo sa college, mawawalan ng 2 years kasi sa college, mawawalan sila ng trabaho sa private sector. So yung mga ganyan, you have to foresee all of those. And unless you're following all of these laws on education, hindi mo makikita agad yun
So sir, tama no, nung nagsimula kayo dito, it was just really parang you were thrown into the situation. What was the most difficult thing for you at that time? Kasi parang, I would imagine you were like a fish out of water na biglang punta ka dyan tapos hindi mo alam kung anong gagawin.
Alam mo, to be honest, if you have really worked on the lawyer skills, of course, lawyers naman tayo lahat dito. If you work on those, at least yung mga essential lawyer skills, kahit saan ka ilagay, I believe that kahit saan ka ilagay. Of course, para sa akin, pagdating doon, education law, sino bang wala namang talagang magsasabi na expert sa field na yun, di ba?
Yes,
But
yes.
I was confident because I've continually developed my lawyer skills. Confident ako na kahit saan ako ilagay, matututunan ko rin yan over time.
Kasi kami sinasabi kay confidence is key.
Sa kaya
in all situations.
You fake it till you make it.
Marami sa atin ng mga ganun.
Pero sir, ito, honestly, I like what you said about lawyer skills. Kasi sa totoo lang, diba, when we think about law school, it's all about books. What we fail to acknowledge is sometimes there are soft skills na tinuturo sa'yo ng everyday grind mo in law school. Sir, ano yung mga na-apply ninyo dun sa soft skills na yun na natutunan niyo?
Ako, halos nagre-revolve lang. Maraming lawyer skills But ako, siguro nagre-revolve lang to a few. Halimbawa, yung persuasion skills. Hindi lang to sa education law practice ko, but I also have a law firm. It's a full-service firm. Persuasion, you have to learn the art, the skill of persuasion. Yung, how do you convince people to buy into what you're saying? Of course, you cannot just fake it naman all the time. It requires preparation. No? Hindi na, alam mo, yung mga tao minsan nakikita lang, ang galing ng sasalita ng lawyer, kabisado lahat. Pero hindi nyo alam what goes behind the preparation, the sleepless nights. You have to practice that. But it's not what you know and how much you know, but how you convince people no, in what you're saying. No? That's number one. Number two sa akin, yung solution mindset. No? Being a problem solver. Dapat pag nakita yung lawyer pa lang, solution na kaagad nakita. Hindi pwedeng, problema itong dala ni attorney. So,
pag nakikita yung lawyer, nasi-stress na kasi may problemang dadalhin sa inyo.
Then, of course, communication skills, both oral and written, advocacy. It's not just yung technical writing, but how do you really communicate to your audience and to your constituents on what you want to convey. No? In very limited time, in public speaking, in writing, you have to develop them. Every lawyer should have that.
No?
Sir, naniniwala ba kayo na ang skill sa paniningil ng lawyer's fee ay kailangan na-develop? Kasi hanggang ngayon nahihirapan kami. Paano ka maningil?
Persuasion skills
you should learn the art of delegation. Kasi nahirap nung ikaw na yung lawyer, ikaw din naniningil. Kasi minsan mahirap yung tumatanggi sa di ba, like tumawad or gusto pro bono. How can you say it bluntly? No? So, ang tendency nun is bibigay ka. No? So, unless you delegate to someone, tatalagay ng trabaho niya.
Yun lang talaga yung trabaho.
At least may papasa mo sa kanya, no? Parang at least hindi ikaw yung tumanggi. Pag lumapit ulit sa'yo, sasabihin mo, hayaan mo, kakausapin ko yung accounting. Ako nang bahala sa accounting na.
Noted, sir.
Take note, lalo sa new practitioners, take note.
May goodwill pa sa'yo, di ba?
Kasi kinaya mo i-convince.
Kasi ikaw pa rin instrumental.
Ang ganda lang, sir.
So, mabalik lang ako ha. Kasi, so these things, diba, natutunan natin, itong soft skills na ito, natutunan natin in law school. Sir, babalik lang ako doon. Paano kayo naging abogado? Paano kayo nag-decide na gusto niyo maging abogado?
Ano gusto mo, yung totoong sagot o yung showbiz na sagot?
Totoong sagot na medyo showbiz.
Sa totoo, pag-graduate ko ng college, sa isip ko, magtatrabaho lang ako na actually, inisip ko, gusto ko sa opisina ako, hindi ko nakita sarili ko na nagbi-business or whatever. Sa middle income employee, yun lang ako. After college.
So, gusto ko wala kayong masyadong pangarap.
Wala pa masyadong pangarap. Basta gusto ko, middle income, ganun lang.
Tama lang.
Ang problema, yung girlfriend ko at the time, nagpunta sa mga law schools at nag-apply. So, hinila niya ako. So, literal na hinila ako. So, sumama naman ako. So, yun, that's how I ended up.
Ko kayo pa ba?
Hindi na.
Pero di ba napansin nyo, yun yung trend Si Judge Campanilla, hindi niya pangarap.
Nakalagkad din lang siya.
Si Ma'am Vicky, di ba? Form. Then, di ba yun yung trend na in essence, parang wala naman talaga ganun na, yung mga who's who, hindi sila nangarap maging abogado.
Alam mo, meron akong I don't know kung this is shared by many also or all of you here also. Alam mo, meron kasing ako feeling ko, like yung reluctant leader, diba, in life is someone who is really turns out to be the perfect leader, no? Pero yung nagpupumilit na sabik at usually sila din yung hindi ideal. And I think I apply ako sa akin naman, to be honest, nung ako ay nasa law school na tinitingnan ko yung mga kabatch ko or yung 1 year higher sa akin, grabe yung kilos nila, abogado na eh. Law school pa lang kami, the way they speak, the way they carry themselves, the way they dress. Sabi ko, sana ganyan din ako, no? Parang hindi yata ako para rito. Kasi,
Bakit sir, ano ba itsura nyo?
kasi naka-sneakers ako. Ano mo yun, talagang estudyante. Tapos talagang... Ganun the way they speak, yung ayos ng buhok.
Yung estudyante ba lang sa'yo naka-moderate ba?
Ganun. Sabi ko, yung bag nila. Pero gusto ko, sabi ko, sana ganyan din ang dating ko. Kaya lang hindi. Tapos, actually, lawyer na ako. Hindi pa agad nagsisingki na lawyer na ako. Nasa court ako, sir, napapagano'n ako sa judge eh. So, ano lang talagang, minsan, I just try to do my best and isip ko.
Pero sir, ito real talk. Nung na-meet namin kayo, before we started this, tapos lumbas kami ni Noel, sinabi ko talaga kay Noel, bakit si sir, no, nung dumating, may lawyer aura talaga siya. Meron na ba tao gano'n?
Bango na nga eh. Bango, hindi gano'n na.
Pero ako sa Erika, gano'n na ba ako?
Appreciate ko lang eh.
Alam mo kasi ito, the reality is, the society kasi, they associate yung being a lawyer to years of experience and age, diba? So ako din nung pumasok ako, they discriminate on young lawyers. Kulang pa alam yan, hindi maniniwala, wala pa puting buhok eh. So what you try to do is not try to look old, but you want to speed up maturity eh. You don't need to be old naman to be mature in the profession. So try to expose yourself to people who are really good. Saka mo nakitain yung mga batchmates mo na puro inuman lang gagawin.
Parang osmosis, no? Parang ilan may sarili mo nang magagaling, baka ma-absorb ganun.
And that's also a skill. You try to adapt to the environment you're in. And try to choose also what kind of environment. So, dapat yung meron kang talagang environment that pushes you to be excellent in what you do. So,
gusto ko to.
Challenging yan para sa mga baby face tulad natin.
Anong gawin kong tanya? Kahit ganito, ako cute pa rin mo.
But alam niyo when I want to share this also, lalo na sa yung mga nakikinig na bago pa lang sa practice. Kami kasi nun, so while people are discriminating young lawyers, kasi ganun talaga eh. People look at lawyers talagang stereotype na talagang matanda. Kami, we capitalized on the characteristics of being young and we tried to use it to our advantage. Kaya ngayon yung law office namin, they're all young. And the way I train them is that kahit first year associate ka pa lang, I expose you to our clients na kausapin mo sila. In our cases here are like your own. Hindi ako yung I'm just here pero hindi ako yung employer mo. Yung hawak mo is really your case. So, and then, they really compete. They compete with the big law firms and seasoned lawyers.
Kasi, nung sabi nyo nga, nung baby lawyer pa kayo, medyo na-discriminate kayo. Bakit ano pang na-experience yun nun, sir?
Siyempre, minsan, pag di mo masabi na, hindi lahat kasi ng mga seasoned lawyers are ready to pass the baton or to welcome. Hindi lahat ng lawyers ganun eh. So, I feel na, syempre, that's a challenge sila professionally. It's human nature, di ba? Ayaw nilang may nag-emerge, ayaw nilang, so they're not ready to accept that they're getting old or someone is... So, ako naman, I just accept it na gano'n. So, I still keep the respect that they deserve. At alam mo, ngayon, andun na ako sa stage na yun hindi pa naman ako gano'n katanda. Kasi nung bagong lawyer ako, I try to look at the future, no? I try to look at the direction na pupuntahan ko for my future. Now, it's not only that. I'm also looking back na ano yung nakikreate ko na road for the lawyers that will come and maybe follow the same route that I'm taking.
Sir,
preparing it for them also.
Yung yung passion nyo for education, does that contribute to you wanting to become a mentor to young lawyers?
Yeah, certainly. Otherwise, alam mo, hindi ko magagawa lahat ng ginagawa ko without passion eh. Mas masarap matulog ng Sabado, matulog ng gabi. But I do, sometimes that's another skill that you have to develop, time management.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're really passionate, in what you do, wala na time is irrelevant. Time is
Ang
irrelevant.
ganda naman nun. Totoo. Alam niyo, sir, kaya masabi nila yun na parang, if you're passionate about something, voluntarily mong ibibigay yung oras mo at yung pagod mo because gusto mo yung ginagawa mo.
Yeah.
Diba? Sir, how did... Kasi diba, when let's just wanna move back a little bit, no? Sabi niyo, parang napilitan lang kayo as a part of your experience and go into education. No? How did it evolve into a passion?
Kasi siguro it also runs in the blood siguro. Now it's parang looking back because my mother used to be a teacher in the private school. My lolo in the father's side founded a school in the barrios. No, so yung passion I think runs in the family. And pero not only that, pag talagang when you focus on something that you want and ang education naman it's not very hard to connect with education because you know that you're doing something good na hindi lang for yourself but this is for others it will affect the lives of many people. So hindi madaling i-convince yung sarili mo na nasa tamang practice ka di ba? So I think wala naman, I don't owe naman anything to na anything profound. Bakit ako napunta doon? It's easy. I'm just lucky to be there and I accepted my role and took it seriously and being passionate about law in general, I think that's how you flourish.
So ngayon, you also teach now?
I started teaching now in law school. Ang mga tinuturo ko is sa political law, fields of political law, being a political science graduate. But I'm trying to just pay it forward to everyone.
Sir, I have a question. Kasi I've always been interested with how the education system and I suppose the education law, paano siya sumasabay doon sa changes din ng generations. Kasi nakikita natin to, I mean, us as educators, we also see this na kung dati talaga tayo grit and grind lang, tanggap lang lahat. Ngayon, yung mga students parang mas may self-awareness na sila, this is what I deserve.
Mas
even in the working environment, diba?
Their thoughts and feelings on that.
Yung mga first-year lawyers, parang gusto nila, meron kagad silang nakikita for themselves that this is what I deserve. So how as you as an advocate and an educator, paano nyo nina-navigate yung changes na yun within the generations?
Well, magandang tanong yan kasi ang demographics talaga natin ngayon, alam mo yung majority of our population nasa school age population. So yung 18 to 25 years old, yan ang majority ng population natin. And you see yung mga nagtuturo, no, hindi lang sa law school, sa college, napakabata. Halos yung age gap nila halos wala na they belong to the same generation. It affects learning kasi alam mo yung they interact sa social media, hindi mo na malaman minsan sino yung teacher, sino yung estudyante.
Dati nga, diba pag teacher, takot na takot ka. Ayaw, si ma'am ganyan. Ngayon, parang wala na yata na, sir.
Yeah, wala nang gano'n. Tsaka yung dati, pag sinabi mong school policies, within the school campus lang yan. Dati, suntukan tayo sa labas. So, parang, sino pag suntukan kayo sa labas, wala nang pakialam yung school. Ngayon, hindi na. Everything that you do has something to do with school.
So, cyberbullying.
Sumasayo ka sa TikTok, maya-maya, tinetext ka na ng teacher mo, bawal yan. Mga ganon. So, that's how it affects education. So, lahat ng nangyayari sa atin, meron talagang impact. The way we deliver education.
So, tsaka totoo rin hindi na lang din yung matatanda nagdi-discriminate Kasi your students as well, when they see you na, young teacher, di marunong yan si sir, di marunong yan si may
boomer.
Mga ganun, pati bata, tinitingnan ka na And then they could, tsaka meron na kagad silang, bago ka pumasok, meron na silang certain opinion about this and that dahil nga sa social media So, diba sir?
Halimbawa, sexual harassment. 1995, ang sexual harassment, dapat may authority, influence, and moral ascendancy, harasser dun sa So, walang boss na, tagal na ako inaharas ng sekretary ko. Walang ganun dati. But safe spaces. Yung teacher, pwede siya maharas ng estudyante. Pwede siya mag-complain. Dati ang naharas lang estudyante, di ba? Sabi niya, gusto ako makapag-date ng prof ko kasi babagsak daw niya. Di ako pumayag. Ngayon, it now relates to those situations na even those who hold influence and authority can also be subject. And ang best example dyan, nasa academic setting. Di ba?
Sir, may tatanong ako, kasi naalala ko dati, nagbabasa ako ng mga kaso, yung mga teachers na nagkakailaban sa estudyante, issue pa rin ba yan ngayon?
Pressing,
Dati, diba,
pressing
it was
matter
such a
pa rin ba
big
siya?
deal.
Yeah, certainly.
Yung maabot sa Supreme Court.
Mas lalo na ngayon kasi dati parang halimbawa, may isang kaso na 31 years old yung teacher, 15-year-old yung estudyante. Diba, ganyan na reaction mo? Kasi nayo ng age gap eh. Pero ngayon, iba na ang tingin ng tao. Diba? Rico Blanco, Maris Racal. Ano ba?
Si Rico yung umiyak.
So, ibig sabihin talagang, sa iba na rin kasi. So, yeah, the more na it becomes an issue. Kasi dati talagang hindi pwedeng, shocking yun eh.
So, sir,
Ang
tama.
nangyari.
It becomes an issue because non-issue na siya to the parties. Parang ganon.
Because it's possible now, it's accepted, it's acceptable. Pero syempre, in an education setting, hindi na tabu. Pero in a school setting, you have to manage that. Kasi hindi pwedeng ganun eh. Pero it's a reality dahil nga because of the age gap, very close na, and access to social media, feeling nila acceptable na yan. So, ang role ng school is, how do we manage this?
Oo nga, sir. How do the schools manage that?
You have to come up with institutional policies. Kailangan mag-compete yung schools sa social media and trying to influence their students. Kasi pagka ikaw ay wala kang role sa buhay ng mga estudyante, they will look for influence somewhere else.
Do you think, sorry, do you think that there should be a national policy about it? Kasi parang organizational policy na per organization ganito niya i-treat ganyan. Pero do you think na it would be better if merong batas about that na specific to teachers and whatever na na pressing matter?
I guess the question is, meron na ba? And is it something that you're seeing? Like what is the current state ba ng education?
Meron tayong actually marami tayong batas sa education. Actually ang problema ngayon is how do we simplify them? How do we make them coordinate? Lalo na yung agencies natin. Imagine, 3 agencies tayo, 3 separate agencies governing education. At kung ikaw ay abogado, pag binasa mo yung batas na nagkikreate ng bawat agency na yun, wala silang administrative relationship among each other. So, kanya-kanya sila. Diba?
There was an issue,
that's
diba?
a challenge.
Just recently na parang paano ba ititreat ang law degree, diba?
Tama,
If it's a postgraduate, is it a
Master at basa.
Doon pa lang diba? Parang ang abogado daw is not an earned doctorate.
Sakit, no?
Ang sakit naman, parang
Tapos Juris Doctor tayo, di ba? Labo,
kasi
di
daw
ba?
meron ding Doctor of Law, tapos meron pa Master. So yung ating basic law program, doctorate, pero hindi daw earned degree. So nasasaktan din ako pag naririnig ko yun. Kasi parang hindi ko ba na-earn yun?
Kaya nga, parang namin.
Buwis buhay nga kami dyan eh.
Oo nga po eh.
Pero sir, in your opinion, what's the most pressing issue in the field of education?
Alam mo, being part of the EDCOM 2, yung Second Congressional Commission, ang dami naming tinitingnan na problema. So, yung nabanggit ko kanina, yun ang what we're trying to resolve urgently is how to make the 3 education agencies coordinate
Sir,
among
ano
each
nga itong
other.
tatlong to?
DepEd, CHED, and TESDA.
Bakit?
test?
Akala
Vocational.
ko, Leb.
Alam nyo, LEV, isa pa yan.
Iba na naman siya, ibang entity siya.
Sui generis.
Actually,
Hindi ko
in a sense
na-test
na naman
eh.
kasi sir, I understand why there are agencies like that. Kasi iba-iba yung needs nung students per organization
But
eh.
I think it was an oversight. Of course, on hindsight, ngayon nasasabi na natin. Kasi noon, isa lang naman ng Department of Education, DEX eh. Sa lahat, pati yung LEB, nasa DEX nung araw eh. Ngayon, pinag-iwahiwalay nila to focus on specific areas. Kaya lang, hindi pala pwedeng totally wala sila. There's a lack of coordination. Eventually, dapat merong nagkukumpas sa kanila eh. Tatlo. To ensure that all of their implementation, execution of laws are coordinated.
Sir, ito honest question.
Oh.
Do you think yung mga legislators, stakeholders, ganyan, do they care enough about the educational system to actually be aware of this disconnect?
Yeah, but it takes time really to have some expertise on the field of education. So, syempre hindi naman lahat nagkakaroon ng ganong opportunity. So, marami tayong legislators and politicians who have the heart for education. Ang kulang talaga is the technical expertise. That's why ako, part ng advocacy ko, teaching in law school and also influence lawyers to become education lawyers. Kasi sa totoo lang, I don't see them as competition. But we need more lawyers, education lawyers who specialize in education, in government, in the private sector.
And actually, no, hindi siya mainstream
Oo.
as a practice, parang education law. So like I said, hindi nga siya an elective subject. That's what. So parang, ako rin ko isipin, meron bang lawyer na, pag tinanong ako, meron bang lawyer na nagsispecialize sa education law? Kayo lang siguro dahil kilala ko na kayo. Kayo lang yung matuturo ko, di ba?
Pero magugulat ka, ang laki ng sector. No? So, kung isipin mo yung sustainability in the practice, education law is one of the good options for our young lawyers. Imagine 47,000 public schools, 16,000 private schools, 1 million teachers. Diba? 3.5 million basic education students. I-multiply mo yan sa parents. Ilan ng students sa college? Ilan ng colleges and universities? Lahat yan may issues eh.
Opo.
Lahat yan magkakaroon ng issues at saan ba pupunta yan sa abogado? Diba? At daming related sa hazing, for example. Ilan ng hazing cases na umakyat sa Supreme Court. No? So, I encourage young lawyers to try lang naman to see whether education law fits their
Alam mo, sir, as early as now in this episode, gusto ko na kayong pasalamatan kasi sobrang nagbe-break kayo ng misconceptions
statistics
sa akin.
no?
Kasi literally, when I thought about education law initially, I was just thinking about yung quasi-delicts. Kasi most of our cases, diba, related to education, quasi-delict, yung mga estudyanteng nagsaksakan ng pencil.
Or labor.
Or labor, diba? But I did not realize that there is a bigger need for education lawyers on a national scale.
Yeah, you will be surprised how multifaceted an education lawyer has to be, no? Education tax. There's a special rules for tax. Diba? Tax exemption of non-stock, non-profit education institutions. Sports, diba? NCAA.
Yes.
Kaya sinong hanapin nila, diba? Sa ngayon, kami pa lang ng lagi nandun. NCAA is our client. Diba? It's an athletic association pero it's a collegiate league, diba?
Yes.
Sino kailangan nilang lawyer, diba? So, ganun din eh. So, ngayon kasi to be honest, we're also catering to lawyers who do not practice education law. So, we become the lawyer's lawyer on this. Pero sa akin pa rin naniniwala ako na napakalaki nung practice na yon to accommodate more lawyers. So, I don't see competition in accepting more lawyers to that field. So, yun ulit. Pangatlo na siguro to. I encourage our young lawyers to pakasubukan nyo rin naman. Try na tingnan ninyo.
You don't necessarily have to be an educator or a teacher. You just have to understand what is needed.
Right.
Kasi one way or another, lahat tayo, kahit hindi tayo teacher, nag-estudyante tayo eh. Nagkaroon tayo ng issues as a
Isa
student.
for our beshi young lawyers who want to start, bilhin nyo na yung libro niya. Sa Rex. Sa Rex.com. You start your journey there. And then, but do you provide like a training for lawyers?
Yeah. Actually, yung
programs.
yung aming, meron kaming program sa law office din mismo, in-house. We do the Legal Mind. No? This is a lecture series for everyone. Hindi lang sa mga nasa schools, pati lawyers. No? Ngayon, nagugulat ako ma-attend mga lawyers. Oo. Gusto ko magkwento kasi paano na-develop yung libro na Kasi talaga ako, wala naman akong knowledge sa technical writing of a book or being an author. Pero in-encourage ako ng Rex na, why don't you write a book? Kasi yung i-compile mo lang yung mga experiences mo at mga questions. Sa dami na nagtatanong sa'yo. No? So, that's what I did. No? Pinagsama-sama ko siya sa isang book. Actually, ang inisip ko noon is not really to sell as many copies and try to profit from it. Ang inisip ko na lang, at least nandyan yung meron akong reference material, nandyan din lahat. And just to establish my presence in the practice. Pero napakaswerte ko rin naman dahil talagang napakadaming talagang tumangkilik ng libro na yon. At sabi nila, hindi pwedeng wala sila noon kung ikaw ay nasa school talaga. It's really a blessing for me to have that. Sa totoo lang, yung nilagay ko doon, pinractice ko na itanong na sa akin ng isang kliyenteng eskwelahan. Diba? Nabayaran na ako doon ng professional fees. Naggawa ko pang libro at na-share ko pa sa iba. At may bumili pa ng libro. Diba? So, minsan sabi ko, kaya minsan sa aking Facebook page at doon sa aking weekly column sa Manila Times, I share a lot of information. People ask me, ba't hindi mo i-monetize yan? Instead of sharing very important information for free. Sabi ko, alam mo, mukhang magalit na sa akin nasa itaas eh. Binili na yan na sa libro, nasa practice na ako. pagkakakitaan ko ba naman, sabi ko, ano na
Hindi,
natin,
saka, ang
public
laki
service na natin.
Ang laki rin kasi niyang impact. I mean, year in and year out, we see these issues na binibring. I mean, just recently with a designation of a new DepEd secretary, siyempre nandiyan yung mga groups advocating for teachers, especially the public teachers, no? Just to have that resource, nasasabihin na kakampi mo yung batas.
Yeah.
You have all that, yung book nyo, yung Code of Ethics for professional teachers, di ba? Just that mere fact na alam ng mga teachers that they have the law on their side, they can use the law, they have the resources, malaking bagay na yun.
At saka naman kagandahan din, the books kasi talaga are not naman for law students, it's for practitioners. It's for the teachers, it's for the administrators, para to apprise them of their rights in that particular setting. Ito sir, may tatanong ako sa inyo, bilang administrator din ako. Kasi sir, ito, on the field of privacy naman, ako kasi meron ako, since we deal with law students and they're all adults, minsan kasi may mga tumatawag sa aming mga magulang, tinatanong nila, totoo bang nag-aaral yung mga anak namin? Ganyan. Kasi sila yung nagpapaaral, tapos wala silang balita. Tapos parang kami, ako personally, I feel uncomfortable sharing information because your children are adults. My relationship with your children is, diba, ito yung kakontrata ko, yung anak mo, hindi kayo. Sir, pwede ba kami mag-disclose sa mga magulang ng ganyan?
Alam mo, ito yung kanina pinag-uusapan nga namin. This is actually a space for institutional policy din. No? Kasi, tama yun. Legal age, the data subject is the adult. Is the adult, no? Yung student. So, dapat meron siyang authorization galing dun sa estudyante, yung magulang, bago makahingi ng records. Pero, ang dynamics kasi niyan talaga, nagpapaaral karamihan ay magulang, unemancipated pa yung adult, no? Nasa bahay pa, nag-rely pa sa support ng magulang. So again, that is a space for institutional policy. Dapat nagkakaroon ng specific rule yung eskwelahan at yun ang masusunod. And very specific doon sa matter na yun. Then, academic freedom. You're talking about colleges kasi, di ba? So, yung data privacy, really supplements that, yung school policy.
Now I see, sir, na parang talagang may intersection talaga, other fields of law with education. Ayun din yung na-realize ko when I went through your book, na parang we have the subjects and then education is in all of them. Sports, poly, diba? Pero sir, ito nga, how do you feel about academic freedom? Kasi in my mind, when we were studying it, it's so broad and it's so vague. Parang everything can be justified by academic freedom. Para sa inyo, sir, ano ba talagang meets and bounds na academic freedom?
Ang haba na rin ng kaso ng Supreme Court yan. Diba? We got it from American jurisprudence.
Yeah.
Sweezy versus Hampshire. Kung narinig niyo yung four freedoms. Diba? Sabi doon, may four freedoms daw nakasama sa academic freedom. Yung who shall teach, diba? What to teach, how it shall be taught, and who shall be admitted to study. Andun na lahat eh. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng merong academic judgment is the call of the university or the college. Ngayon, ang daming gray areas doon in terms of implementation. Kasi pumapasok din yung gobyerno. The state is, of course, promoting public interest and social welfare, and education, of course, is for social welfare and in the exercise of police power. So yan, nag-overlap eh. Yung police power ba, of course, it requires regulation, and how do you balance it with academic freedom, which is also guaranteed by the Constitution. I think doon nagkakaroon ng gray areas eh. Pero syempre nilinaw yan recently 2019 yung Pimentel versus Legal Education Board, no? I-reiterate ng Supreme Court, sabi ang academic freedom dapat hindi nagbabago yan. Hanggang ngayon, it is still a concept that exists, and we should spare our colleges and universities from external control and pressure. Kahit nandun yung government to oversee and make sure that this is not abused by schools, pero we should maintain academic freedom pa rin. Ibig sabihin, yung content lalo na. Yung content ng tinuturo mo, dapat minimum standards ang sinasabi ng CHED, halimbawa. No? Yung over and above, call na ng school. Admission of students, call din ng colleges.
Was it the case nung inalis yung LSAT?
Yeah, yung ELSA, 'di ba? Sabi ng yung PhilSat, no? Yung PhilSat, sabi ng Supreme Court, academic freedom hindi pwedeng pass or fail 'yan. Pwede kung mandatory sa lahat ng gustong mag-law kukuha ng PhilSat, pero hindi pwedeng sabihin ng gobyerno, yun na nag-fail, hindi maglolo. Kasi academic freedom ng institution eh. Ang kaibahan daw niya sa NMAT, yung NMAT is for medical students, diba? Pag ikaw ay nag-take, kailangan ka mag-take ng NMAT, pero yung score mo, hindi pass or fail. Yung medical school lang ang mag-a-assess kung sabi niya, okay lang, kahit 20 lang nakuha mo, tatanggapin ka namin. So, it's still academic freedom of the institution. Yun yung pinagkaiba niya.
Oo. Sir, ano sa tingin niyo yung future trends in this field of law? Kasi nakikita na natin, pinapasukan na siya ng mga data privacy, pinapasukan na siya ng other fields of
technology
law.
Technology. You're correct. Yung sinabi mo, privacy and technology, yan ang mga ngayon, trends and issues affecting education. Nakita niyo yung privacy, tas evolve. Dati data privacy lang. Ngayon meron ng safe spaces. Di ba? So, ngayon, it really affects schools. Bawal ang green jokes, by the way. Di ba? Dad jokes na lang pwede. Kinabahan ako. Buti hindi pa siya. Kasi sabi ko, magiging guilty ako doon. Green jokes, hindi. Di ba? So, the people now are becoming more and more aware about their privacy. Di ba? And their freedom of speech and expression. Gender identity is one. It will really affect schools. Yung cross-dressing, haircut, gender identity, pronouns, di ba? So, yan. Walang batas pa, pero sa mga schools nangyayari ng issues niyan.
Nakikita ko yun, sir, yung mga nagiging viral na schools na ayaw daw ipag-cross-dress, i-allow yung mag-cross-dress yung students ng graduation.
Correct.
So, talagang emerging issue siya rin.
Emerging issue siya.
How is the field evolving to address that?
Ako, laging ang sinishare ko from a legal standpoint. Kasi it deals with personal information. Sabi ko, kung ano nakalagay sa birth certificate, yun ang susundin natin. And you can change your name, you can change all entries there, except for one. There is no law in the Philippines that allows a person to change the sex entry in his or her birth certificate at any time during his or her lifetime. So, ang default ng schools palagi, kung ano nakalagay sa birth certificate. Pero sinasabi ko din, this is from a purely legal standpoint. Ang issue ng gender identity has gone beyond legal issues.
Tao sa tao na siya.
Ano na to? May religious, merong cultural. So, baka haba na ng ano. But, yung isa pa is AI. Artificial intelligence. Alam niyo, meron isang... may isang school, sabi sa akin, gagraduate na yung mga estudyante next week Sabi ng isang university president sa akin. Ang problema, na-discover namin, or merong reasonable suspicion yung mga faculty namin, na gumamit ng AI yung mga estudyante. What do we do? Yun ang sabi. Graduate na sila.
Paano mo nga rin naman kasi mamomonitor, sir, di ba? Hindi mo rin naman talaga malalaman. Parang, pag nakita mo yung papel, wala naman siyang wet signature or whatever na AI galing to
Especially now na schools are doing hybrid, di ba? Hybrid classes. So,
actually, sir, may tanong ako. Kasi recently, I was just in India in a education forum doon. And then the topic was AI. And most of the countries na nagpunta, galing developing countries din. And there was this parang dean doon. Yung opinion niya is parang for a developing country to even talk about AI, hindi pa parang masyado tayong nag-a-achieve ng bagay na ang taas-taas di pa nga natin naayos yung sarili natin. How do you feel about that, sir?
Sa atin kasi, hindi naman tayo talaga known for developing AI So sa atin, ang concern natin, lalo sa mga schools, the ethical and the administrative aspect of using AI. Hindi yung tayo yung nagde-develop At tayo ay more or less end users. Pero merong ethical component yun Like students using it, faculty using it. Parang kung matatandaan mo, parang yung unang inintroduce yung cellphone na para kang may computer na hawak. And ang reaction ng education sector noon, bawal ang cellphone sa klase. Parang you cannot resist that technological advancement. So ganun din ngayon, we're learning from it na you cannot totally ban AI, but you can regulate its use. No? Ano yung ethical and administrative consequence of using AI, not only for students, but also for faculty. Is
there a lot of discussion on that na po now?
Marami na kasi talagang nagiging issue na kasi may access na talaga lahat faculty and students.
I think it also affects we were talking about earlier lawyer skills, 'di ba? Soft skills.
Yeah.
It also affects the skills of the students 'di ba? Parang because of the ease of gathering information using an AI technology, nawawala na yung mga skills ng research.
Talagang deep the hard work, the grit, diba?
Pero yung hindi lang siya yung mismong gathering, yun, the work itself Diba? Like if people would remember, kasi yung may isa kaming episode about AI, yung description ng episode, pinag-chat GPT namin, trip lang Pero sobrang, alam mo yun, then yung AI mismo nakagawa siya ng ano. So the work itself is actually affected So meron ka ng soft skills aspect, meron ka ng yung material aspect na sir.
So talking about this yung AI technology, do you think na in the policy making, in terms of policy making, do we have enough resource person to represent how AI can be used in an ethical manner, in an administrative education?
Yeah, actually, we do. No? You'll be surprised. Maraming experts dyan. Sa UP pa lang, no? Sa University of the Philippines. But the challenge is really how do you harness all of this? All of the information available and creating a framework. No? Yun ang maraming magagaling sa atin. But, creating just one framework and allowing everyone to work on that. And it will be cascaded to all units, not only in the government, but also in the private sector.
And I guess the next question is, are we electing officials?
Best, let's not go there.
Don't go there muna tayo. Don't go there.
Akala ko ba light discussion? Pero sarap talaga maging estudyante ngayon, di ba? Pero, talagang books pa rin, yung physical copies ng books, importante pa rin.
Sir, di ba you teach? How do you ensure that your students don't just go to AI? Pag nasa klase ninyo.
So, I also prepare. No? So, hindi naman kayang makover lahat ng AI. Kasi yung AI relies on historical data na available. Kung for the first time ko palang sasabihin to, I'm sure hindi pa to nakita ng AI. So, I really prepare. Yung exams na binibigay ko, for sure walang samplex yan. Diba? Kasi pinag-isipan ko mabuti.
Kasi bago yung exam niya all the time.
Yeah, tapos pag nagpaparecite ako sa online, hindi ko tatanungin yung provision. I will not test your memorization skills kasi for sure binabasa mo na sa screen yan.
Yes.
I'll ask you the things that I think you will not. Actually, yung pagda-digest din Kasi alam ko, iba binabasa digest lang. So, minsan nagugulat sila, andun ba sa kaso yan? Minsan tatanungin pa ako, sure kayo, sir, nandiyan sa kaso.
Grabe naman, audacity naman ng students.
Kasi alam ko, binasa nila, digest lang. So, I really read the entire case. So, yan ang mga dapat talagang hindi nawawala sa law students. Swerte ng mga law students ngayon. Di ba, online na resources.
Totoo.
Mantalang dati, photocopy ka sa library ng SCA.
Yung isang ganun mo, isang meeting pa lang yun.
Hindi mo pa nabasa kasi.
But do you still subscribe to the Socratic method in law school?
Yeah, of course. Dapat ganun naman talaga sa law school.
Kasi
dapat you trust each other.
Skills.
You trust that the student has done his or her obligation in preparing. And the student should also trust the professor na alam niya yung tinatanong niya, sinasabi niya. So, dapat tinitest na lang natin yan pagdating sa klase. And dapat learning hindi nangyayari sa loob ng classroom na 2 or 3 hours in a week. Yung learning should happen outside. Tinitest na lang dapat natin yan para nagkikita tayo. And we elevate our discourse. Let's talk about complexities in the law. Hindi yung dito pa lang natin tinitest kung inaral mo o hindi.
Dito mo pala sasabihin ko, alam mo yung provision.
Dapat ang presumption is inaral mo na yan.
Parang yung dapat daw po ba yung movie na The Paper Chase?
The Paper Chase.
Napanood ko yan. Yung na yan
Yung
Bar Boys lang napanood.
Ang ganda. Hindi kasi yung sa Paper Chase, parang the students there would always read, would always try to, and then, ang sabi ng professor doon is that papasok ka dito with a head full of mush. Kasi hindi mo alam kung ano talaga yung batas or whatever, pero paglabas mo dito, you will think like lawyers. So, alam mo na dapat siya, in a sense, meron ka ng overview. Pagpasok mo sa classroom through the Socratic method, dun mo siya na parang na-figure out Ganun.
Sir, ganito, very chill po kasi kayo. Nagagalit ba kayo sa klase ninyo?
Masaya sa klase ko masaya. Tinatanong ko naman sila gusto niyo ba yung masaya? Pero mahirap ang exam. Kung gusto nyo, strict tayo sa recitation, pero madali.
Ano po pinipili nila?
Siyempre masaya kasi. Hindi ko mapigilan Masaya kasi I relax pagdating na at the end of the day, pagdating sa klase ko, maraming kwento. Because I think that also nurtures yung the learning environment. Parang medyo relax yung they prepare seriously, pero when they go to class, they feel safe. And they feel na hindi naman sila mapapagalitan. Pero serious yung topic. Pwede naman serious nga yung topic serious pa yung mukha ng professor.
So talagang effort kayo, sir, na parang pagaanin yung vibe ng klase niya.
Yeah. I try to make it light Kasi hindi naman nadadaan sa takutan nito.
Totoo.
Ikaw bali.
Ano?
Hindi nadadaan sa tanong eh. Ikaw ba?
Uy, hindi. Kasi ako naniniwala ako doon na parang you try to lighten the environment. Kasi pag happy yung mga utak ng mga estudyante, the more receptive they will be to information. Pero kasi minsan hindi mo mapigilan kasi may mga estudyante talaga na kahit binigay mo na nga lahat, walang binabalik sa'yo. Nakaka-frustrate yun, di ba?
But I also felt sad nung nakita ko yung mga grades nila after the dental sem kasi syempre may mga bumagsak din despite. So I also share in the failure kasi feeling ko, di ba, may pagkukulang din ako.
So you feel that parang your reflection kayo ng performance, your performance.
And I think as educators, ganoon talaga.
Yeah. And no matter how I know them personally, during the semester, syempre may personal connection and relationship na din. Pero syempre pagdating sa grading, hindi ko naman tinitingnan kung sinechekat mo. So magugulat ka lang, sayang naman, kilala ko siya. I thought he could make it. And kaya lang, 0.5 lang. Parang nahiya naman ako magsabi din sa din, pwede mong mag-curve tayo. But yeah, yun ang I share in the frustration.
See, that's the heartbreaking part about being professors Kasi we know that we have your lives and careers in our hands. Pero kasi minsan, what can we do? Kinukuha lang naman namin kung ano yung binibigay nyo sa amin, di ba? Okay. Pero sir, last, serious question. What impact do you hope to have in this field of education in the Philippines?
Sorry.
What impact do you hope to have in this field of education in the Philippines?
Naisip ko kasi talagang kailangan natin talaga ng lawyer specializing on education. At because yung impact talagang once you have that lawyer specializing in that field, it really impacts the entire system. And not only in education, kasi lahat naman ng government agencies natin merong talagang relation sa education So, yun ang that's really my aspiration. And no single lawyer can do it alone. So that's why pang-5 ko na yata itong so I encourage really lawyers to try lang naman and see whether education law fits their style, their interest. There's always room for them to be accommodated in this practice.
Sir, do you feel like you could do more change if you were in government yourself?
Well, I'm now in government.
Well, that's right.
But limited engagement until next year dahil sa EDCOM 2. I think nahirapan ako kasi alam mo, mas madali ko masasagot yan kung sasabihin ko may marami ng lawyers na nag-specialize sa education. Kasi I feel the gain of the government if I join them would be the loss of the private sector. Kasi I'm leading, like for example, I used to lead the biggest organization in the private education sector in Cocopea. I was the managing director and legal counsel. Nung umalis ako sa kanila, at nag-join ako ng government, of course, other lawyers, including our own lawyers sa law firm, they're helping the Cocopea. But I feel the void also because it takes time for new lawyers to learn.
Yeah, the technical skills required for that position, sir.
Yeah, so that's where the difficulty comes from.
Sir, any advice naman to our beshies, na students right now, na baka iniisip nila, parang, interesting field yan na, sige sir, you can talk to them. Kausapan niyo po sila.
Makinig po ba yan sa akin?
Ito first, yan, sa camera.
Yeah, sa akin sa mga law students, andyan, ngayon, nagpupursige, and I think just try to do your best and do not be afraid to fail because success is the worst teacher, sabi nga nila. Because it is in failures that we learn most. Huwag kayo matakot na bumagsak sa isang subject, no? As long as you continue and try to persevere, matatapos mo din yan. And try to be conscious now of what type of lawyer you want to be after, no? And what areas you want to practice. Kasi sabi ko nga dati, kailangan ma-meet mo yung lawyer, makita mo sa practice, ganito pala yung lawyer, ito pala yung pinapractice ng mga lawyers, no? Pero ngayon, di mo na kailangan hintayin na ikaw ay pumunta sa courtroom or ma-expose sa actual practice. Ang dami ng resources, ang dami ng platforms na makikita mo, ang dami palang klase ng mga lawyers. Ito pa lang, isa program ninyo, Bar Beshies, is very informative to our aspiring lawyers. So, I encourage you to inform yourselves more about the practice. Kung gusto mo, pasimula ka ng practice, pwede din. So, maging lawyer ka ng mga influencers.
Ganda.
Mga online. Sabi ko sa iyo, kung nasan yung change, dapat alam ka. Ngayon, nagsisimula pa lang yung gobyerno na mag-isip na i-tax yung online influencers, bloggers.
Sila Rosmarian.
Now, there's a looming area of practice. Kung gusto mo dun, yun ang maging practice mo din. Dapat na pinag-iisipan mo na.
I think, I share ko lang. Kasi when I thought in law school, I was teaching elective subjects. So that was data privacy, competition law, public utilities. I was telling my students, I'm gonna teach you what you can answer in the bar, but I'm also going to teach you what you can practice. Kasi ito yung mga niche na practices in law school na pwede kang mag-specialize. And apparently, mas marami pa. I mean, just right now, sabi nga ni Attorney Erap, merong education law na matagal lang nandyan and still developing, and you can actually pounce on that opportunity to practice. I'm not sure. It may not be as lucrative, no? But there's actually a need for it. And I guess, kailangan passionate ka rin.
Oo.
Education. So, that's a good opportunity rin. So, beshies, you have to try that.
Ikaw, Noel.
Ako siguro, sir, last question, what can we look forward to naman sa magiging development ng education law since you're part of the policy making naman?
Okay. Unang-una, meron akong libro. Kasi yung, sa Rex Education din ang nag-push sa akin to release a new book. This time focusing on aspiring lawyers. So, tamang-tama sa topic natin. Kasi yung aking the Education Act na nilabas ng 2019, ito yung makapal na libro na 700 pages yata. It's in a Q&A format. So kung ikaw ay school administrator, andun na information na natin mo na Pero naisip ko, dapat we should be training our policymakers and law students also in the field of education law, learning the foundation of all these principles. So so it's in a textbook format. It's a Philippine education law. So it's my contribution to the education law practice and the education sector. That's number one. And then number two, a lot of things are happening because of the EDCOM 2. At matatapos yan by next year, July, tapos na yung 3 years ng EDCOM 2, in-evaluate and in-assess na yung buong education system. At hindi ko lang pwedeng sabihin lahat ngayon, pero maraming reforms na ipopropose yan. Remember yung first EDCOM, yun ang nag-recommend na magkaroon ng 3 agencies, magkaroon tayo ng Board of Professional Teachers, ang daming mga in-introduce na changes. 1994, sabay-sabay pinasa yung mga batas na yan. So, you can expect more but more of the same thing by next year. Magkakaroon ng proposals and will shake up the entire education system for the better.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. Sir, thank you for this session. Sincerely, kasi ang sobrang eye-opening talaga nito, sir. Education is a field of law that we can explore because lawyers are needed there. Tama naman kasi kung pangangalagaan may edukasyon from bata pa lang, we will develop nationalistic and responsible individuals sa pagtanda. Tulad natin.
Ako pinanghihinayang ko lang nung nag-resign si VP. Sana si Sir na lang yung pumunta. As DepEd Secretary.
Charot. Off the record, sir.
Hindi naman. Okay lang tayo the small role that we're playing. Of course, hindi mo maalis talaga. Another important element there is the political the leaders. Kasi no matter what you say, these agencies are political agencies. They have to be headed by politicians. So, sila na yun, wala naman ako dun sa field na yun. Although kapangalan ko si Erap, dun na lang ako sa technical knowledge that I can contribute.
Sana, it is what it is.
Kaya favorite niyong Erap movie?
Wala ata ako naman.
Wala na rin ako maalala. Siguro, naalala ko na lang na movie niya, yung leading lady niya si Nikki Cositing.
May leading lady niya
si Nikki Cositing?
Umarte si Nikki. Alam ko yung last movie niya, Tanging Pamilya. ang leading lady niya si Nanay Jonisha.
Umarte si Nikki Cositing, meron nga silang kissing scene doon, parang ganun lang si Nikki Cositing. Ganun lang.
Pero you're aging yourself.
Well, mahilig ako sa classic movies, so hello.
Sige na nga. Okay, with that, Beshies, it's another episode of Bar Beshies with you. Sana marami kayong natutunan sa episode natin today. Truly, ang dami nating narinig ng mga bagong information. Sana may napulot kayo sa episode na to. And with that, we are the Barbeshies. This is Lay.
Ako si JP.
At ito naman si Noel. Thank you to Attorney Era!
Mas Erap. Barbeshi na rin ba ako?
Yes, thanks for your education and lifelong learning partner.
Lifelong learning partner.
Bye!
Bye.